really honoured that you've come to join us and talk to us and give us your time.
Really, really nice.
It's really nice. And because I've had a look at your Instagram posts, and your guitar playing is absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
I think you're where guitar playing where you are now is where I want to be, and I've been trying for like 30 odd years.
Oh, well, thank you. Very flattered.
Yeah, I mean, are you self-taught? Did you have
I am,
lessons?
yeah, I am self-taught. But obviously the plus side of being self-taught now isn't quite what being self-taught meant before the internet, you know. So
Yeah,
it's not that I haven't had access to, you know, to resources created by people who are much more aware than me. But yeah, I'm self-taught. I started when I started kind of late actually compared to some people. I started when I was like nearly 16,
wow,
15, 16, something like that. But I had played piano, as you can see one behind me,
right.
for like 6 years already by that point. I'm hideously out of practice with piano now because I found out that I just enjoy guitar a lot more. But I think that definitely helped with picking it up a bit quicker because I
Yeah,
already had played, okay, I'll bite classical music, but I'd already played music for so long.
yeah,
I think it came, you know, a wee bit quicker. I had a little bit of theory milling away, but yeah, just sort of use books, YouTube videos, listening to things, the usual routes, really. Yeah,
yeah. Well, there's so much available now, isn't there, for you
yeah,
to,
that's the thing. Is
to research and learn, isn't there?
I think being self-taught is it's got really great pros, but it, you know, it definitely has some cons. I think, especially in the guitar community, and I've been quite guilty of this myself before. There's a bit of a bravado about being self-taught. I think it's something people want to be like, yeah, I'm self-taught. I don't need a teacher. And one of the best sort of things I've actually ever heard someone say about that is the one problem with being self-taught is the teacher is not any good. And I think that is true. And even though being self-taught's been great because it means that it's kept me so motivated, it keeps your love for the guitar so alive because you're leading that study. But there are certainly some things I sort of wish I'd known sooner. And you find when you are self-taught, you progress really fast in some areas, but
Yeah,
sometimes there's sort of weird little gaps that pop up later
yeah,
that a lot of people with a teacher go through things a bit more logically, you know, because unfortunately being self-taught, you do have the freedom to go, I don't need to learn my scales. I'm going to jump straight into trying to be Malmsteen or something. And it never works out that way, of course. So,
yeah. Well, I had guitar lessons for, and you're absolutely right. There is benefits and disadvantages, and I've certainly well, I had guitar lessons for 2 years, and then my guitar instructor said to me, I can still hear him now, and he says, "Look, Steve, you need to go out there and you know, because what he was saying, I was becoming almost a replica of him." So I was playing what he was playing, and he was like, "You need to go out and find your own style." So it kind of came to a point where it's like, "I'm not going to teach you anymore. You need to go off." And now that was kind of good in some respects, but I certainly wasn't a confident guy to actually go out there and get myself in a band. So I had about 10, 11 years whereby I was just stuck in my bedroom in some sort, just playing and practicing what I could. But I really needed to get myself in the band at that point. I
yeah.
didn't actually start banding until probably 25, something like
Yeah.
that, you know.
Well, I think, you know, I was going to say one of the biggest things that helped advance my playing, and I think helps anybody's playing, is going out and playing with other people, and particularly playing with people who are better than you and being okay with embarrassing yourself. Because honestly, I definitely learned the most by being, you know, little sort of gung ho 16-year-old me, like, okay, yeah, get in the pub covers band, whatever. I can play, you know, some Rolling Stones covers, let's go. And then, you know, playing with people who are much better than me, and I'm going, Eliza, I don't think you're even playing the right key here, you know, because I'd only been playing for like 6 months by the time I was playing in band settings. So I like jumped right into playing with other people. And
Yeah,
I knew nothing. But it was good because, you know, you need to be okay with having those slightly embarrassing moments where someone goes, hey, you know, this is what you should be doing. That's not quite right. And
yeah,
that's just how you learn. And I learned so much quicker from playing with older, well, not necessarily older, but wiser people.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for that. And you know, I've certainly, you know, my learning has certainly increased when I started playing with other musicians and better musicians, and you know, and trying to get to their kind of level.
Yeah.
You know, so there is a lot to be said for that, for sure. So, but well, look, your demos are absolutely fantastic, and I noticed yesterday you put up a demo of Van Halen's Jump. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that was a wild ride. I haven't tried playing any Van Halen before, so it might not have been sort of dead on, but I was like,
It's spot on to me.
okay, that's good. I was like, it's time I did it. It was fun. It was super fun.
That's one of those solos where I've always wanted to learn.
You know, what stood out to me about that, and what stands out to me about Van Halen in general, is you sort of expect the challenge with Van Halen to be these sort of fast tapping runs and whatever. The hardest part of that solo was undoubtedly just the phrasing, because it's not until you sort of get really intimate with these songs and you're having to, you know, play. And the phrasing on that one was just partly because I must confess I hadn't heard the song that much before I tried to play it. But the phrasing's really unique. It's so expressive. It's really the way he sort of plays and pulls about with the timing. That was really the tough bit, to be honest. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting that a lot of times the phrasing is the thing, isn't it? You know, I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about Sheryl Crow and her playing style, and I've seen her play If It Makes You Happy, and she comes out, and I've seen her play live with a Telecaster, and she looks so cool, and she starts strumming these chords, and there's nothing really complicated about those chords and that intro, but to play it like her, with the swagger and the timing, that's where the ease goes.
Yeah, and I think that's why sort of this past year, because I hadn't learned any sort of covers in a really long time, or like since I'd started playing, because I think when you're self-taught, you get started by playing other people's songs. And then I sort of didn't do that for like the middle few years of how long I've been playing. So I've been playing for, I don't know, 6-7 years now. So then that kind of went away. And, you know, when lockdown rolled around and I was like, well, I'm going to have to fill this time with something, I was like, you know, it'd be great to just get back to playing music I like again. And it's been so nice just getting back to doing that and like rediscovering why I loved playing in the first place, in a way, you know, because then you take things from other people's playing and it comes out in your own. But the thing about learning covers is it's always, for me, I'm constantly being surprised by what is actually challenging about certain songs. And honestly, I find an equal number of challenge and difficulty, in a sense, in, you know, a Santana solo as I do in a Van Halen solo, because if you really get close with the music, there's always something to puzzle out, I find, or maybe I'm just not that good yet, but for me,
I think you are. And talking about some of your musical influences there, and your guitarists and covers, I mean, I've seen some of your demos. You're covering people like Eric Clapton, a lot like the 70s classic rock guitarists, Angus Young, Jimmy Page.
Behind me,
so where did you learn about that music?
I kind of grew up with it, really. My dad is a huge classic rock fan. I feel like I'm like a lot of people of my sort of generation, where it's like you got into that kind of music through their dad, sort of thing. But I have one of my earliest memories is sitting in my primary 1 classroom when I was 5 years old, humming the riff to Moby Dick at my desk by Zeppelin. I just remember that. So I've always, and I remember like my first favorite song was Since You've Been Gone by Rainbow, bit of a dodgy song to like sing when you're 4, but so it's been just forever. And then, you know, when I was a kid and a teenager, well, younger teenager, I just listened to the charts and pop music, whatever, which I still occasionally do. Don't mind a bit of pop. but yeah, I didn't really listen to rock then for a while. And then when I was about 15 or so, I don't even remember why. I think I was just going through the CDs at the house one day and was like, the Rolling Stones, give this a whirl. And just got back into it. And rather than getting into the music I'm into through learning guitar, it was like the other way around, to where I got really, really impassioned about rock music and was like, wow, I really love this music. I want to play it. And then started learning guitar kind of from there.
And you mentioned covers. I mean, when you approach a cover, are you looking to pretty much replicate it, or are you putting your own twist on it? How do you approach it?
On the cover, to be honest, because I think some guitar players, they almost want replication in a sense. I think sometimes if you're playing something that's on the more maybe metal side of the spectrum, or just something that's a bit more, has a stricter timing or something like that. And then I'd also probably consider the nature of the guitarist. So like Page, for example, because he's my biggest influence as a guitar player. My favorite guitarist just ever. So he has never played the same solo twice, as we all well know. So sometimes I've gone for replication just because what he does is so good. But if you want to replicate Page, you have to play his mistakes too.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Like when you look at certain solos, there's a bit where you hear a string go, meh, that, I mean, it sounds great because it's him. He's just improvising, but it's like, do you do that, or do you put your own spin on it, or do you play about? So really depends with the solo, but I'm definitely somebody that's pro putting your own spin on it, you know, but you don't have to play it like the record, I don't think.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that, because I mean, I've you know, Jimmy Page is one of those guitarists, isn't it? I mean, crikey, he's phenomenal. I grew up and loved Jimmy Page and everything else, and that certainly comes through in your guitar style. That's absolutely sure, and your music. But yeah, I watch him with great interest, because sometimes he does a run, and it's almost kind of like a little bit out of time. Sometimes there's a few notes which are a little bit out of time. But that's Jimmy, that's his character. You know what I mean? And going back to what we're talking about, phrasing.
Yeah, if we're talking about phrasing, I mean, his phrasing is so challenging because it's just, I think it's because of the nature of how it was recorded in a lot of ways. I mean, we know that they sort of recorded super quickly and they just sort of go into the studio and do it. So a lot of his phrasing is the kind of stuff that you can't really write, you know, it comes out when you're improvising a little bit and when it's sort of in the moment. So so when I can't even remember which solo it was, but it was one you definitely wouldn't expect to be difficult. Black Dog or something, I don't know. I think it was like one of the first covers I tried at the start of lockdown. And I was like, the Black Dog solo, I have heard that like a million times. The sheer amount of Led Zeppelin I've listened to in my life. It's going to be fine. Nail it, get it done, easy. And I was spending the whole day going, why can't I get this phrasing? My God, it's so unique that if you want to play Page, it's like you really have to get in his head to play what he's playing, which is, again, one of the nice things about playing covers. The experience of doing it is like you really just step into, okay, what was, you know, Page or Van Halen or whatever, what were they thinking? How were they, you know, doing this? So yeah, it's playing Page is its own thing. And
how does your dad feel now? Because I mean, obviously he's kind of passed that music on, and now you're like playing them.
Yeah, he's very happy about it. Yeah, I think he's chuffed that he managed to, you know, spawn some Zeppelin fans. And my family's all pretty artsy. Like my brother and my sister both went to drama school, and my dad works in theater. And like I have uncles who are musicians and artists and everything. Right. So yeah, it's a pretty artsy family, and a lot of rock fans in my family. It's quite just always been around it.
A lot of those musicians you've mentioned, the Claptons and Angus Young, I've seen you playing, and Page, obviously. It's very much rooted in blues rock, or that's when it, you know, that's the origins of it, isn't it? But I've also seen you playing other stuff. You know, I've seen you tapping, I've seen you playing ambient music. So where does that influence come from?
There's a couple of things I'd say. Firstly, I mean, at the same time as, you know, sort of classic rock, if you will, is my main shtick, the thing I really love. I do listen to hugely eclectic things. I mean, some stuff you'd probably consider wildly embarrassing, to be honest. But also, like, I live with traditional musicians, so I listen to a lot of trad music, like Scottish, Irish traditional, you know, and Indian music, and just everything really. But similarly, I think if you're into quote unquote classic rock, it's difficult to avoid, or I think anyway, avoid having really eclectic influences, because the term classic rock's one of these fun sort of misnomers. It's not really a genre. It's, you know, a period of time in popular music when you think about it. I mean, you can consider two bands classic rock who were wildly different, you know, and within the classic rock umbrella, lots of things go on. So I think when you get into the classic rock world, it introduces you to so many more things, because you look at classic rock and you might discover like Zappa, and from there go to more ambient stuff or jazz or Santana, and then you've got Latin music, or the Beatles and you discover Indian music, or, you know, and then you have the blues influence and sometimes a bit more soul. And Zeppelin have tried every genre under the sun. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's turned into Jamaica, but you know, I think being into classic rock definitely opens you up to all these influences. So it all kind of comes from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also getting a music degree. If you study at uni, you know, you undoubtedly have to listen to different things, and you end up with a lot sort of coming in. So.
Yeah. So, and is that the masters that you're taking? You're taking a masters in music, or?
Yeah, so I did an undergrad in music at Newcastle Uni, and then yeah, I'm doing my masters in, it's sort of a musicology one, so not playing for the degree. It's more just writing big long essays, but I quite like that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, well, wish you all the best with that. So, wish you all the best.